who is our fabulous affiliate marketing partner, Topside Federal Credit Union. I know they and Lauren are no stranger to you all, but Lauren, take it away and talk to us a little bit about what's going on Topside.
Awesome. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Lauren Bruning, and I'm with Topside Federal Credit Union. If you're not familiar with us, we are a local credit union. And the great thing is that as members of FAR, you're all eligible for membership. A credit union means that we're member owned and not for profit. So we are truly working to support you. And some of the ways we do that are things like our youth saves program. We have a great program that's 5% for the first 500 until a child's 20th birthday. There's things like matching of a quarter saver where they get an additional $10 for saving their first $10 when they're younger. And as they grow, it goes with them, like $5 for the first 4 A's on the report card throughout their school years, or even direct deposit. Once they get their first one, they get a $25 bonus. So we get to teach them through the years how to save, how to feel responsible with money. And then we also have things like our military saves accounts. That's 8% on the first 500. If anyone is military active, dependent, retired, you're eligible for that account, and it's 8% on the first 500 for life. So that's really a great savings. We're also currently offering until the 30th to celebrate our 60th birthday. We're doing 60 days, no pay, and 1% off APR on personal loans right now. And then going forward, this is not a promotion, this is just forever. We're going to be offering 1% cash back up to $250 on refis for auto loans. So that pairs with our great low rates, and you can know that you're going to get that percentage off. We have a fantastic business lender on staff right now, Kathy Roscoe. So if you have any needs for business lending, she is fantastic. You can apply for any of those things or get in contact with Kathy right from our website. We have fantastic online banking, everything that you would use at a larger bank or credit union, we have it all. So you get that in-person or that local feel, but we have all of the convenience of the bigger. So you can do everything from your app or online. And we're part of the All Point Network, which means that there are over 55,000 ATMs in the United States that aren't going to charge you to get to your money. So even though we're local, you can take us with you. And of course, if you'd like to see us in person, we're happy to be there as well. We have 2 locations in Fredericksburg, one across from the Publix and Massaponax, one next to Almonds Barbecue in Fredericksburg, and then 2 in King George, one on base where we were founded, and then our Plaza branch is on 301 next to Taco Bell, KFC. So that's a little bit about us. I will also invite you, if you'd like to come to our community shred event, it's going to be on May 1st from 9 to 12. You don't have to be a member to come do some personal shredding, but we're going to be doing that at our Massaponax branch as well. I will drop my information in the chat. So if you'd like to have any questions or reach out, I am happy to help. Thank you so much.
Lauren, thank you. It's always so great to see you, and we love Topside and all of our affiliate marketing partners. We couldn't do what we do without them. With that, I am going to turn it over to Bill Freehling, the Director of Economic Development and Tourism for the city of Fredericksburg. As you can see, Bill does not have slides today. This is a very informal conversation, so y'all please speak up, pop questions in the chat. Feel free to unmute and ask on any points that he is going to bring up. We want this really to be a valuable conversation for you. So Bill, with that, I will turn it over to you. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Kim. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I read that Jeff Bezos doesn't allow PowerPoints in any meetings at Amazon. So I took that to heart for this one. Just going to talk through some of the big things happening in Fredericksburg. I appreciate you all having me today and for all the good work that you all do. Again, I'm happy to give you an overview of business activity in Fredericksburg. I do think it's going to be a great year for us coming out of the pandemic. But I would also love to hear from you about what you're seeing in this housing market. I know it's a kind of an extraordinary housing market right now, and you all are on the ground of that. And I'd love to hear from you about what you're seeing. But I'll kick it off with some of the things going on in the city. It certainly seems like that life is starting to return to at least semi-normal. If you just walk around downtown or just drive around the city or elsewhere, it's just, you can just tell that there's just more people out. There's just more activity, more people at restaurants, more people at shops. And I think, as more and more people get vaccinated, that'll only continue to occur, just with, people's personal savings are at record high. People's finances are in generally very good shape, with a lot of people working from home and avoiding some expenses over the past year. But people who are fortunate enough to be able to work from home, and then coupled with all the stimulus money that's coming in, a lot of people are in really good shape financially. They haven't been able to travel. They haven't had to buy many clothes. They haven't been spending money on gas. So obviously that's not the case for everybody. There's a whole maybe sector of our economy that couldn't work from home and maybe are in a tougher situation right now. But a lot of people are in really good condition. And that's a lot of people in the Fredericksburg area that have been teleworking and working in, government contracting or government jobs. And so I think that with you're starting to see some of these folks just come out and sick of being cooped up and ready to get out and enjoy their life again after being vaccinated. So I think that'll only continue this year. And luckily, we've got a lot of good things for them to go spend their money on. So some of those things include obviously maybe headline would be the baseball stadium. The Fred Nats are opening up, and I think probably everybody knows, are opening up on May 11th here in the city. Their opener is May 4th, but their home opener is on the 11th. So we're obviously super excited about that. That's been many years in the making. And I think it'll be a great gathering place for our community. They're working through some of the restrictions that they'll have on capacity, but it looks like currently they'll be able to open up with about 2,500 people in the ballpark using socially distanced measures. And so that's really exciting. We're looking forward to that. Another big project that should be coming online later this year, I don't have an exact date, but the Riverfront Park downtown ought to be opening up sometime this summer or early fall. Probably will coincide roughly with the reopening of the rebuilt Chatham Bridge, which is expected to open by October. And supposedly they're on schedule. I haven't heard a exact time yet, but they're on schedule, and that's going to be a great thing. That'll just for vehicles, obviously, allowing them to get between South Stafford and in Fredericksburg and vice versa, but also just for pedestrians, the fact that it's going to have a 10-foot multi-purpose path on the downriver side that will allow people to bike and walk. And then connect over to some really great trails over in Stafford too, with the Belmont Ferry Farm Trail. So that's going to really be a nice amenity for our area.
Bill, can I ask a question about the Chatham Bridge?
Sure.
Have you heard any feedback about the detour? Is it causing any problems? I think it coincided nicely with the pandemic that we didn't have tens of thousands of cars going that way, but businesses seeing a decrease in attendance because they're not driving by necessarily.
I mean, it certainly made it inconvenient for some people, who live in South Stafford or work in South Stafford or live in Fredericksburg or vice versa. But, it's funny, before the pandemic, there was a lot of angst about the Chatham Bridge and the effect that it was going to have on downtown Fredericksburg. And we had a whole marketing plan that was ready to go, telling people downtown's open. And then right around the time that we were ready to roll out the marketing campaign, COVID happened. And suddenly the the bridge didn't seem like that big of an issue anymore. And so I think that it did coincide, actually. I think that actually ended up working out as well as a pandemic could work out, as as far as the closure of that bridge. I think the timing was pretty good. So so I don't think it's had I mean, it hasn't helped, but I don't think it's been hugely detrimental to the downtown business community. And now that we're starting to come out of COVID, we should be only a few months away from having that bridge reopen. So,
okay, thank you. And we also had a follow-up question about, can you elaborate on the Riverfront Park a little bit? I'm actually going to put the official website in the chat so people can go see the renderings and the progress. But if you have any highlights from your perspective, that would be great to hear.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Yeah, go check it out. It's really starting to look like a really nice park now. It's down between Sophia and the Sophia Street and the river, pretty close to the garage, between roughly Wolf Street and Hanover Street. And so it's about 4 acres. There's a lot of really nice hardscaping. There's nice grass areas where people can gather and watch concerts from. We expect to have some concerts there. Not like the type of concerts that you'd see at like Celebrate Virginia, but some musical acts there, and we expect it to be a real event venue. That we think that there'll be all kinds of festivals there, and so I think it's really going to be a new center of gravity for downtown. So yeah, so you can probably Google it and see some renderings, but actually probably the best way is just to go down there and check it out. Again, it's just you park in the garage, first 4 hours free, and check it out. So again, don't have an exact opening date yet, and it's possible that it may be opened in phases, where the kind of meadow part of it between the hardscaping and the river opens later to give it a grow period, and the rest of the park opens sooner. So that's many years in the making, and it's going to be a nice addition. I think that the Sophia Street corridor is going to be really impacted in a positive way by both that and the bridge, plus some of the other big projects that are going in along there, the River Place townhouses, the Hanover House project that's going in at Hanover and Sophia Street. And so I think over time you'll see more residential development along Sophia Street. Some of those lots that are kind of gravel parking lots right now, I think over time you'll probably see development in them. So yeah, looking forward to having that open. So some of the thanks, Kim, for sharing that link. Anyway, so looking forward to having the Chatham Bridge reopen and the park open there. So going down to a little bit different area of town, the William Street is another corridor that's really transforming this year. The Liberty Place project has been completed. There's the Cary Street Partners is in there. Union Bank just moved in there. Mellow Mushroom and Blue Cow Ice Cream ought to open within a month or so. And then there's some additional tenant activity that's underway there. So that's the first building there. And then the garage is open right next to Liberty Place, and there's now apartments that are going up on the Amelia Street side of that. And then within the next few weeks, probably there will be a groundbreaking on the project where the Vacos project, where the Freeland Star building used to be. That's down now, and they're ready to get started on at least the site work for the new hotel and another new apartment building, and then that'll leave about a half-acre site on that property, plus the land across William Street that had been a public parking lot. So the William Street corridor is really going to be pretty dramatically. The gateway is going to be pretty dramatically changed within a few years. that's already started to happen. So and it's great to have another garage downtown as well. So that's certainly a big project for us.
Hey, Bill, before you go on, can I just ask about parking lot? Oh, I know somebody just
Sure.
posted in there, is the parking lot going away? That
Yeah.
also just leads to sort of a wider question for me is, there's always been a lot of concern about the parking capacity. And as we start to open up and maybe the restrictions on how many people you can have in a business go away, with the loss of the Sophia Street lot, which I personally parked in all the time, I'm like, where do I park now? How, from an economic development perspective and a business community perspective, is there going to be signage? How are we going to get people to use the new lots and use, the old garage? How does the parking look going forward?
Yeah, well, I think parking, whether it's an issue or not, depends on who you talk to. Some people say it's a big problem. Some people say they never have any trouble finding a parking spot. The Sophia Street lots aren't going away. They're still available. The lot next to the Riverfront Park was formerly for the Marriott, and now it's for park parking. So there's really just as much parking on Sophia Street as there ever was. There's another 300 space garage now on Winchester. So it's a paid garage, but it is a place where visitors can park. The garage, the downtown garage, is free for the first 4 hours. So it's pretty close to free if you're just coming to visit and have lunch and walk around. We're always looking for additional opportunities. We try to manage the on-street inventory to have a mix of 15-minute and 2-hour spaces. But I think that generally people will be able to find a parking space when they come downtown. We try to advertise on our website what's available, and I think as rideshare becomes more and more common, with Uber and Lyft and whatnot, if you've got a cool place, people are going to come to it, and I think that's the case for Fredericksburg. So hopefully that answers the question.
And then Bill, just what about that specific lot? Forgive me for not remembering exactly where this is. William Street, we were talking about, there's a lot across the street. Sandy, is that right?
Right.
Is that going to stay?
Yeah. I mean, that was it used to be the Freeland Star parking, and then Vacos, while they were for a couple years there, while they were planning their project, they did lease it to the city for public parking. That lease has ended. They're now using it as a place for their construction vehicles to park and construction materials to go. And then eventually they're going to develop it into something, which I don't know yet what that will be, but it'll be something. So yes, that lot has gone away. That was always intended to be a short-term thing. It's obviously a really convenient parking spot. There's no question about that. And we're glad that we were able to have it for the public for a few years now. But we're also excited to eventually see the economic development that'll come on that lot.
Thank you.
Just going into a few more things that in the city, the Fredericksburg Food Co-op recently opened, so that's a great addition to the US 1 corridor. Go check it out if you haven't already. It's really a nice grocery store, about 10,000 square feet, member owned. So we're excited to have that here. Another area that's starting to be transformed pretty significantly is the area around the train station. In the next 10 years or so, we're certainly going to see a lot more passenger rail opportunities as they rebuild the Long Bridge in Arlington, VRE and Amtrak. There'll be more trains in and out of Fredericksburg, and you're starting to see really a lot of development around the train station area and redevelopment, which is really nice to see. The Janney family is redeveloping the Janney Marshall property right next to the train station into 12 apartments. Mike Adams and John Van Zant are pretty far along now on converting the old coffee warehouse on Frederick Street, and also building a 17 condo unit lofts at Frederick Street. They're getting ready to build 4 new townhouses along Charles Street. The old warehouse across from the WAC office on Charles Street is going to be redeveloped this year. And that adds on to some of the new houses that have been built along Charles Street in the past few years. So that area is really starting to get a lot more residents living there. So we're excited about to see how that area is starting to transform, and I think there'll probably be more to come along the near and around the train station, the Lafayette Boulevard corridor as well. I already talked a little bit about the Sophia Street corridor and some of the changes coming there. Going outside the downtown, as you undoubtedly have seen, there's a big project going up on Lafayette Boulevard at Blue Gray, Telegraph Hill / Fredericksburg Park. That'll have something like 200 new townhouses and 80 new single-family homes. The roundabout is pretty far along at this point on Lafayette Boulevard. Traffic's actually already been diverted to use the roundabout, so that's another pretty big project. A little closer to town on Lafayette Boulevard, the project that had been called Highlander, I'm not sure if it's still called that or not. It was Dan Webb Builders, about 90 townhouses right across from the right at the Dead Man's Curve area across from the cemetery. That's a lot of site work has been going on there, and those units ought to be coming out of the ground, I suspect, pretty soon. And then there's a Valley Run townhouse project is under construction as well on Route 1 that Ryan Holmes is doing. I believe that's 60 units, something like 60 units. So that's going on right now. Going out to Celebrate Virginia in that area, of course, the baseball stadium is there, and Silver Company's recently completed is putting the finishing touches on almost 600 new units. The apartments have opened, and then there's an active adult community called Jubilation that ought to be done and ready for people to start moving in this fall. And I'll tell you, there's a lot more interest in additional residential in Celebrate Virginia on the parcels that remain on the kind of close to your office along Gordon Shelton. There's significant land still to be developed there, and there's quite a bit of interest in more residential. However, all the residential that is allowed by right in Celebrate Virginia has already been developed, and so any additional residential would require action by City Council. So remains to be seen whether that will be allowed or not. And some of the additional big parcels that we still have available in the city, the Hilton property along, obviously where we were looking at putting the VA, that's going to Spotsylvania near exit 126, and I think that'll be a good project for the whole region when it opens in a few years. So Hilton's now studying kind of next steps for that property. I suspect that you'll see some sort of mixed use type proposal with some residential and some commercial, but that's still to come. And then another big property near there is the Graves property off of Fall Hill Avenue. There's been quite a bit. That's about a 34-acre property that connects Fall Hill and Cowan. With those two projects, there's the potential for better connectivity between Plank Road and Cowan, and then perhaps eventually all the way up to Fall Hill Avenue. And those are some of the sort of bigger greenfield parcels that can still be developed in the city. I mentioned Fall Hill. There's been a lot of development along Fall Hill of late with townhouses and some apartments, and car dealerships are not that new anymore. But so that's that. And then on the other side of Fall Hill too, with the Valvoline that went in, and there's an extended stay hotel that's proposed behind that new Valvoline facility near Wegmans. So, of course, a lot of people ask, well, with all this growth, how are you accounting for your infrastructure? That's certainly something that the city and the council are very aware of. There are some big infrastructure projects that are going to be required in the coming years. The city will likely need to build a new wastewater treatment plant, and increasingly, there's a lot of conversation about building an additional school within the next few years, likely an elementary school. There haven't been any sites that have been picked out for that. That hasn't gotten to that point yet in the conversation, but Idlewild has always been a site that the city has considered for an elementary school. There's about a 27-acre property in Idlewild that the city owns. That it could well be an elementary school site, but again, no decisions at all have been made on that. But it does appear increasingly likely that the city will be building a school here in the next in the coming years anyway. So I think that and certainly I'm just focusing on the city, which is obviously pretty small as far as the whole region is concerned. It's only about 10.5 square miles, and our population is only about a sixth of what it is in Stafford, and maybe a fifth of Spotsylvania. So certainly the growth that's coming to Stafford and Spotsylvania will impact, and to a lesser extent, Caroline and King George will affect Fredericksburg, but I think it has the potential to affect it. Obviously, there's challenges with transportation and et cetera, but it's also really an opportunity to grow our businesses and convince people to come to our downtown and to come to baseball games and to just enjoy all the great things that we have here. So I think that there will be continued growth on the horizon. There's obviously a ton of work that's being done on 95 right now to increase the capacity there. There's plans for increased capacity at the train travel here. So I think that we're in a good spot. I think that there'll be more people coming here, residents, businesses, visitors in the years to come, which I imagine will help you all's businesses. So I think we're in a good spot. It's obviously been a challenging year, but I think we're starting to come out of it, and I think we're poised to really have a good 2021 and beyond. So
we had a question in the chat. If we can go back to talking about that Hilton property.
Sure.
If we got the VA clinic, there was going to be that extension of Gateway Boulevard across Plank Road. Is
Right.
that infrastructure that the city will still look to put in, even though we didn't get the project? It seems like a attractive piece of land, especially with the new bridge coming in.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's been in the comp plan for years to build Gateway Boulevard between Plank and Cowan, and actually it's in the comp plan to eventually connect it to Fall Hill Avenue too. I think that would be a later leg of it if it ever happens. But we want to see that road there. I think that's probably going to end up being the responsibility of the ultimate developer of the Hilton property. So I think you'll see that road go in when that land gets developed. I don't anticipate that the city would just go in and build the road before that happens. It's always been envisioned that would be the responsibility of the developer. The city took on that responsibility if we had gotten the VA and a bid to get the VA. That did not happen, and so now kind of back to that being the responsibility of the developer. Obviously, once we see specific plans, I'm sure conversations will occur about how exactly that road gets built, and what it looks like. But do anticipate that would happen when the property gets developed, and we continue to have regular conversations with them, so that I would anticipate something happening on that property, in the medium term. But they obviously put a lot of time and energy and money into the VA pursuit. That didn't happen. So now they're kind of trying to figure out what the next chapter is.
So we also had a question about the Falmouth Bridge. Any talk about replacing that crossing over Route 1?
Yeah, I know that that's planned for that to be replaced. I believe that might be in the 6-year VDOT plan, um, but I don't know exactly timeline on that, or how exactly that would be staged. Obviously, that would be a big impact traffic wise. So I really don't know that much about that, to be honest. But I know that there are plans to improve at least, or potentially replace.
Maybe a better VDOT question. We need to get Kelly Hannon back.
Probably a better VDOT question. Yeah.
And great question from Chip. Thank you. I had forgotten about this. Every time I drive by on Caroline Street, I think about Dominion Public Market. What is the status on that project?
Yeah, good question. That project doesn't look like it's going forward. It's everything that's gone on over the past years. There's been it's been difficult to get enough interest tenants in there to support the cost of what that project would entail. So the owner of that property is evaluating what might come next for it, but I don't believe that the Dominion Public Market project is going to move forward under that concept. So, which is disappointing. But I think that that property it's a big property for downtown, so it's good things are going to happen there. It's just a matter of time. But I don't think it's going to be that particular idea.
Okay. Other questions? Feel free to unmute yourself too if you want to ask anything. Well, I think I know the answer to this. Oh, wait. Okay, one more. Are there any plans to do work on the railroad bridges by the train station?
Again, a little bit outside my area of knowledge. I know that's a frequent issue, and I know that there are plans to upgrade rail lines and, again, bring more train capacity into Fredericksburg. Ultimately, CSX is the owner of those lines, and so that would be more of a question for them. But so I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of information on that, but I know that I'm aware of the issue.
So I think I know the answer to this, but just questioning about vacancy rates. I mean, did you see, just driving around, it didn't seem like there were a ton of businesses that went out of business during the last year because of COVID. And we've certainly had a lot of new places open, not just in the city, but all over the place. So how does that look in terms of maybe compared to 2019 or 18 in a more normal year?
Yeah, good question. We actually, I honestly would have thought that more businesses would have not made it through COVID, but in reality, there not that many really closed. There certainly were some, but they tended to be more kind of chains that the companies were having some issues anyway, like Chuck E. Cheese, for example. Country Cooking closed in Eagle Village. I don't know. I could think of a few more, and I'm sure you could too. But like as far as like sort of a lot of the mom and pop local businesses, there weren't that many that closed. Some did, and we're sorry for that. But most didn't. And for those that did, most of those spaces have been released. So the vacancy rates really aren't too bad. A lot of businesses really pivoted in a smart way during the pandemic. It's been very interesting, actually, to look at some of the sales tax revenue for the city. Sales tax revenue was actually at record highs in 2020, which you would never expect. And I think that the reason for that is that now online retailers are for online sales, they're charging sales tax, and then that's being dispersed to the state and to the locality. And so, a lot of businesses pivoted to online models and, to complement their brick and mortar businesses. And so we've been fortunate that there haven't, by and large, our vacancy rates have really held, very steady. The office market is challenged. That's probably the biggest challenge, but retail has done okay. Industrial has been popular. Has done well with again, like distribution centers, warehousing. Industrial, it's very difficult to find an industrial property of any size right now. You all can talk more about how the housing market's done, but it seems to have done quite well. So it's really the office market that seems to be the most challenged, but otherwise things have held up pretty well.
I've enjoyed eating my way through the new places in Fredericksburg and existing ones, and I can't wait for the Liberty Place restaurants to open up. So keeping on our restaurant theme, great question. Do you think outdoor dining will continue as it currently is? Expand, shrink? Is the city council planning anything, any changes?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what you see now, I think it'll continue with places like Renato's using part of their parking for outdoor dining. I think that that's going to be popular, in any climate, or even after a pandemic, people like to eat outside if the weather's okay. So as far as whether obviously we did some things during the pandemic to help restaurants with closing some of the sidewalks and allowing businesses to put their tables out there, and then closing some parking spaces and making those into the sidewalks. We haven't done that. We ended that. I don't know if that will come back or not. I don't necessarily think it will. But I think that you'll see things like like Mellow Mushroom, for example, is doing sidewalks. See, they have a big kind of semi-outdoor area. It's actually enclosed, but they've got nice windows. And then they're going to do sidewalk cafes. And I think we certainly support businesses continuing to open up sidewalk cafes and utilize like Renato's utilize some parking areas that maybe they didn't need all of that parking and make it into a nice little cafe instead. I think the city will be supportive of that. As far as whether you'll see things like street closures and parking spaces being converted for cafes, I'm not certain about that. There's no proposals to do that currently.
So we had a vote for a beer garden. I'll tell you, Rusty, if you go to Red Dragon, they do have the doors usually rolled up on nice days and outdoor seating. You're sitting in the parking lot, but it's still outside and you can enjoy the nice weather. So Bill, we'll take that to heart, a beer garden downtown.
All right. Well, in the meantime, like you said, you can go to Red Dragon, or you can go to Spencer Devon Brewing, or you can go to the Deutschland downtown, Capital Ale House, Strange Ways Brewing, just a little bit outside downtown, Adventure Brewing in Eagle Village. But yeah, Rusty, we'll take that to heart.
There's still lots of beer to be drunk in Fredericksburg.
Yeah.
So I did want to ask about the Princess Anne and Lafayette corridor, sort of what that long-term vision is. I don't want to say redevelopment, like anything needs to go, but there had been a pretty big focus for a little while on that Mill District, and it's been pretty quiet, it seems to me, since that project kind of fizzled out. So what are the thoughts about those two corridors, since they are very sort of a welcoming part of Fredericksburg? A lot of people drive in on those two corridors.
Yeah. I think you'll see a lot of changes there over the next 5 to 10 years. The downtown is really getting pretty well built out. There's very few kind of infill development opportunities in the downtown. There's maybe a lot here and there that you could build a house on, but most of the big acre lots in the downtown area have already been developed. There's obviously exceptions to that. People point to the post office. That's one. But so the development opportunities, I think, are probably more along the Lafayette and the Princess Anne corridors, which are very connected to the downtown because you don't have to cross over any major roads. You can get into the downtown. So I do think that those will become kind of extensions of downtown over the next 5 to 10 years. You're starting to see that a little bit with like that townhouse project, for example, in Lafayette, that's by the cemetery. There's a couple things that have started to come to the Princess Anne corridor. Sprelly is going in to the old Disability Resource Center. There's a meadery that's applying for a special use permit to go into the 1600, the old Pure gas station at 1600 Princess Anne. I think that you'll see activity in the Mill District over time. Mr. Whalen's done some good work to convert part of the Dowling Sign property into an event center to complement the silk mill. Yeah, I think that, the city has rezoned or is in the process of rezoning some of those properties, both along Lafayette and Princess Anne, that would allow to a creative maker district, which will allow more kind of light industrial type uses that not the type of like heavy industrial that that you might think of, but light things like, someone making furniture, or making peanut butter and jelly, or making mead, stuff like that. I think that I think those two corridors are probably the where you'll see a lot of the activity over the next 5 to 10 years.
That's great. Fredericksburg is becoming a very foodie destination, a meadery. I've never had mead. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's a group that's out of it's a company that's out of Hopewell. They have a location in Hopewell, Haley's Honey Meadery, and they're opening their second location here, contingent on getting the special use permit from the council.
I see an RPAC fundraiser in our future at one of these places.
Yeah.
So, question about plans for Fredericksburg Square.
Yeah, I mean, it's for sale currently. It's been through a few different proposals and iterations. So I'm not 100% sure where things stand currently. Obviously, the back part of that property got sold for the 13 new townhouses that are getting built. I suspect there'll be some sort of redevelopment of that. I mean, the existing building will remain, but there'll be I think there'll be some sort of renovation that maybe is a mixed use focus, with some ground level commercial and some residential on the upper floors. There are a couple of infill possibilities on both sides of that property, where like the gazebo is, and then where the tent is on the other side. So those could potentially be incorporated into the redevelopment of the existing building. So I'm not 100% certain as to the status of that right now, but I do think that you'll see that project move forward, in the next 5 years or so.
Brayhead Wetlands.
Well, I don't know if this is the question, but the city, the EDA is under contract to buy a 60-acre property in the industrial park, and part of that will be sold to the city for an expansion of the city shop and the school bus parking, and then the remaining 56 acres will be is being marketed to another user or two. And there are about 30 acres, 28 acres of wetlands in there. So we'll certainly work to try to preserve the wetlands portion of that property, working with the ultimate buyer of that property. So yeah, we certainly would want to see that part of the property protected. There's a nice development site. The property, I mean, it's an agricultural use now, which is fine, which is good too, but it is zoned for industrial use. But there is, again, a pretty significant part of that that's wetlands that we definitely want to see preserved.
So, Bill, I know everybody always wants to know about Trader Joe's, but do you see, and the answer is no always, so I won't ask the question, but do you see a demand for a grocery store downtown, or are we saturated enough in the very surrounding area that that's not going to happen?
Yeah, good question. It's, I mean, we do have sort of smaller grocery stores. We've got the Old Town Butcher downtown. The food co-op's not downtown per se, but it's you can certainly get there from downtown if you want to take a nice little walk or bike ride. It's not the easiest thing to build a grocery store downtown, with the loading docks that are required, just the size of the property that are required. So I don't see anything on the immediate horizon for a downtown grocery. I think that the butcher shop and the farmers market and the food co-op are coupled with the grocery stores outside of the downtown are probably meeting the demand for now, anyway.
Okay. Any last questions for Bill before we let him go?
So what are you all seeing? You all very busy? It seems like there's very little inventory and prices are going up, and
Yeah, they're not selling any houses. It's pretty
It
quiet.
seems like the market's doing pretty well. Surprised you have time to listen to me.
Yeah, so I don't want to pick on anybody, but you know that I will. So I see Robin Marine on here. You're downtown, Robin. What's going on in your office?
We're hopping, for sure. See lots of activity, multiple offers. I think the same as everybody else is seeing, but it's fun to see such an active downtown market, and the bridge closure really hasn't affected, at least from my point of view, the traffic downtown and the activity downtown. Bill, do you see some of the things that are currently happening at Camp Park or have happened in the past moving over to the Sophia Street property?
Like some of the events you mean that
Yeah.
occur there?
You had mentioned festivals occurring. Do you see them moving some of them over to the?
Yeah, I think so. It's a site that's well equipped for that, for food trucks, for example, parked along the Sophia and the new parking that's created there. There's a lot of it's got a lot of good infrastructure for events, and so yeah, I think some of that for sure will shift from her camp over to Riverfront Park. I mean, her camp will certainly continue to be vibrant, and it's right in the heart of everything. But yeah, I think a lot of those events will start occurring at Riverfront.
And do you think the farmers market will stay at her camp, or do you think it'll move over to Sophia?
I haven't heard any conversation that would be moved. Actually, I'm not really the one making that decision per se, but I think that I would expect that to stay at her camp. It's so well established there and so popular there. I wouldn't see that moving.
Okay.
So we send Bill our stats every month, so he gets the information about what's going on. But I mean, as you've seen all the numbers I've sent, the supply continues to plummet, and the city, being a smaller market, can sometimes be a little up and down, and one month to the next is not necessarily indicative of a trend. But we did have a meeting with our state economists at the end of March, and the numbers from February, she felt like we're showing maybe a little softening in demand due to the inventory issues. But when I looked at the March numbers, I'm not seeing that bearing out. And I had asked Laura Rodier the other day at a meeting, and I'll ask Michelle, the pace of contracts coming through your offices, are you seeing it slow? Here we are in the third week of April.
If anything, we're getting inundated with contracts a lot more than last month, I would say.
Yeah. So we're just not seeing that, curbing of demand yet. I mean, it feels like after a year, it's, an infinite amount of folks want to come down here, but we're continuing to see that strong demand for the region, not just for Fredericksburg, certainly, but for everywhere. I mean, all of our jurisdictions are up and up considerably. And those, when I look at the inventory numbers, I don't think they can get any lower, and yet they still do. So it seems like that's a pretty consistent message, though I certainly, want to chime in, realtors. There are certainly people who are not able to buy in this market. If you want to use a VA loan, are y'all seeing VA loans right now, FHA loans? In some of the more rural places are RG loans. I mean, it's hard to compete right now. So there's definitely people who are not able to buy right now. We went on a town talk not long ago, and Carrie Danko stressed that one thing that's always the same in real estate is that it's always changing. So this is not going to be like this forever. We don't want to discourage buyers from looking, but it is a challenging market. I've stopped saying hot, because that has the connotation that it's good, but it's a challenging market. Certainly, if you're a seller and you've got somewhere to go, it could be very good. But if you don't, it's a challenging market. So I'll encourage anybody else to jump in if you want, if you have any stories for Bill, especially in the downtown market. Or I shouldn't just say downtown, the entire city, because I live in Idlewild, and my gosh, I wish I had somewhere else to go. We've never thought I would say I would ever live with my mom, but it is tempting when I see how much my neighbors' houses have gone for.
It does seem like price appreciations have been pretty strong in Idlewild.
Yes, and what I'm hearing, and please, again, realtors chime in, is that we're not worried about a bust, about a bubble, that next year we're going to see prices $30,000 less than we're seeing now. The price appreciation will slow, but we're not going to see, and please correct me if y'all think I'm not, we're not accurate here, but it doesn't seem like there's going to be a major price correction in the next 6, 12, 18 months. These, we're seeing prices that are probably here to at least remain steady for quite a while. Scott, I saw you shaking your head. You agree? This is not a bubble. We're not going to see people.
Yeah, there's no compare. People keep wanting to compare it to 2005 and 6, but we had a flood of supply back then. There is no supply right now. So housing will be solid for 2-3 years at least.
All right. Well, this was great, Bill. Thank you. Always great information. I love doing these with you and your counterparts. This is a great community to call home, and it's always exciting to hear what we've got going on. Cannot wait to get out to that baseball stadium.
Yeah, me too. I appreciate the invite. Appreciate all the good things that you all do to market our region. So happy to come join you whenever you want me.
All right. Well, thank you all. You all have a great rest of your day, and we'll hope you see you in person sometime soon.